This episode is brought to you by Buzzshot, Cogs by Clockwork Dog, PG's Playhouse, and Patreon supporters like you.
Hey, escape room owners. Are you still trying to solve the marketing puzzle? Buzzshot to the rescue. Buzzshot is the secret weapon powering business growth and improving the customer experience. This is software with a ton of pre- and post-game features, including waiver management, creating incredible branded team photos, and streamlined review management for Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, wherever people review. And they also offer integrations with Cogs. Post-game photos are one of the best marketing tools out there. It not only captures the wonderful memories your players had at your company, but it should also be your calling card. Buzzshot has overlays that you can add to escape room team photos with things like the name of the game or your company. Buzzshot has also introduced feedback surveys so you can get nuanced feedback from your customers and spot those small problems before they become big ones. Buzzshot automates all of this for you so you can focus on the fun parts of your business.
Nikayla Hendrickson of Trapped Escape Room says, Buzzshot really revolutionized our post-escape room experience for our customers. It's a fantastic product from a fantastic team. Streamline your marketing and grow your escape room business. Repod listeners get an extended free trial and 20% off your first 3 months with no setup fees or hidden charges. Visit buzzshot.com/repod, that's REPOD, to learn more. Link and details in the show notes. Welcome to the Reality Escape Pod, your lifeline when you need a getaway from the real world. I'm David Spira, alongside my co-host, PG Law. Together, we're exploring immersive gaming from all angles, and we'll be joined by guests who really know their stuff. Today's guest is writer, rapper, and comedian Zach Sherwin. Zach is best known for applying his unique blend of comedy, nerdery, and hip-hop to stage and screen. From his extensive work writing and performing on the YouTube series Epic Rap Battles of History, to his incredible puzzle-driven stage production, The Crossword Show, which he will be bringing to our very own Reality Escape Convention in Laval, Quebec, Canada, August 16th and 17th of 2026. Welcome, Zach.
Oh, what a great intro.
Better than therapy is what we've heard.
I have done those things. But sometimes you need somebody else to be like, remember? That was nice. Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm so glad we're talking to each other.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming on and bringing your street cred. We're getting some street cred to this podcast.
I absolutely love it. And I'm so glad to have found, in the way that I found the crossword world to be so open and welcoming, that the escape room world is the same way. And I've met so many great people, and you all know each other, and it's just a joy. So it really is a pleasure to sit down with what I feel are kindred spirits and fellow travelers.
Fantastic. So, Zach, we met at the Mohunk Wonderful World of Words in 2025. And just to share a little context for our listeners, Lisa and I had been invited to speak there, and we were the last speakers on Sunday morning. And throughout our stay there from Friday through Saturday, we kept hearing about how there's going to be this thing, the Crossword Show. It was this blend of hip hop and crossword puzzles. And the whole time I was like, I'm going to go to it, but how the hell is that going to work? Which is sort of like old Broadway fans' reaction to Hamilton. We got there and you started performing, and we were 5 minutes in when Lisa and I looked at each other and we both had the same thought, which is, we're bringing this guy to Recon. That has to happen. We were also realizing that we were following you. You closed the show Saturday night and we opened it again on Sunday morning. And after your show, we went back and practiced our talk a couple more times.
Is that true? I didn't know that. That's so flattering.
100% true.
Wow.
Hard act to follow.
Well, I mean, just to quickly repay a compliment before I reopen myself for all the flattery you'd care to smear on, my Crossword Show co-producer and co-performer, Dominic Delbenny, and I, when we watched you guys, were like, wow. It was very clearly you are not goofing around. And I've learned that about you, that you really take things seriously. Like the things you do, you commit and you do them right. Game recognized game, my friend.
Thank you so much. That whole weekend, everyone on stage was so impressive. And the whole weekend, we were like, okay, we really have to bring our A game. And then you were on stage and we were like, okay, we really have to follow that. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to make it clear to the audience, we're going to be digging into the Crossword Show. We're going to talk about your history with all of this stuff. But I want to go and make this so clear. Whatever you're thinking of, oh, this might not work, it works. It works, and it works so damn well.
Yeah, when David came back from Mohunk Mountain House, he could not stop raving about your show. And then he messaged me. He was like, PG, this guy's performing in LA. I really think you should take your friends and go see it. And then after that, me and my friends were raving about your show. And anytime that I see you performing in a city where I have friends that I think would like it, I always tell them to go watch your show. But enough of the flattery. Let's dig into the Crossword Show. What is it? What's your elevator pitch for this? How do you explain it?
Yeah, for sure. There's a secret clubhouse element where the elevator pitch is something like, I host while two guest panelists solve a crossword puzzle live on stage, and whenever they get a clue right, I do material about the words. That's like the shortest version. Then if the elevator is going up to a higher floor and we still have a little time, I'll say, the clues work like normal clues, but they also are written to be rhyming lyrics, so there's an across clue rap and a down clue rap over the show. And then at the very end, the grand finale is always an answers rap that incorporates all of the words from the puzzle that the solvers figured out and kind of ties together all the themes and callbacks that we've been establishing over the course of the show. And then I think the other element of it is I have my script and I'm working through it. And the most alive part of it is I love watching, I think audiences love watching people get thrown into this solve situation who might not be huge crossword puzzle solvers, or they're super enthusiastic crossword puzzle solvers, or they've never solved a crossword puzzle before. And now they're doing it in front of a bunch of people with all these other bells and whistles thrown on. But I think the secret clubhouse part is, I like describing it as something like, comedians solve a crossword puzzle, unlocking rabbit holes of comedy, music, trivia, and wordplay with every clue they decipher. Because I feel that it's like much more than that, but I sort of like daring people to come to the show and see what it is for themselves.
It all weaves together. Like if you think of a crossword puzzle as a tapestry, the crosses and downs, they literally end up weaving together. It is beautiful.
It is also the funniest thing I have seen. I don't think I have laughed so hard in a 1 hour period as I have since that time. But I was also really appreciative of the guests that you brought on, because you brought on these guests that were so funny. These are my puzzle credentials, you know. I remember the time we went on, she was like, I wake up and I do this set of crosswords.
Yes.
Then I go on the New York Times and I do all that. And I was like, whoa, who are all these puzzle people? And I want to be friends with all of them.
It's a very serendipitous time to have launched the show, which we first started doing in 2018, and then we had a wild 2019, and then the pandemic hit and live shows weren't a thing anymore, but the New York Times puzzle app just exploded during that time. So now everybody either has a relationship to crosswords and spelling bee and Wordle and word puzzles, or it's like interesting, especially to the demographic that we tend to draw, that they don't at all. I mean, everybody does, but it's like you just kind of have to play the hand you're dealt with the timing of when you launch an endeavor. But there are a lot of world externals that I think have worked out nicely for us. So the pandemic was worth it, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
The puzzle renaissance. That's when we launched the podcast. A lot of people found themselves at home with a lot of time on their hands. You started this show before the pandemic. So where did the idea for the Crossword Show come from?
I co-founded a sketch comedy group with some friends in college. I went to Brandeis University, a little liberal art school outside of Boston. Started a sketch group with some friends. We kind of made it work for a few years, like 5 of us, and then 4, and then 3 by the end, at which point the writing was on the wall. We disbanded amicably in our mid-20s. I had like several years as like a comedy rapper in the Cambridge, Massachusetts comedy scene. I moved out to LA. I started doing some writing stuff. I stopped being as into doing like wacky novelty song comedy raps, and I felt very stalled out. I shadowed a vet in a gifted and talented program. I was in 7th grade. Maybe I should become a veterinarian at age 30, whatever. And then a person I didn't know, but who turned out to be the really accomplished, really brilliant, and really like menschy and wonderful and kind crossword puzzle luminary Will Nediger. Will reached out to me cold on Twitter and was like, hey, I follow you. You tweet a lot of wordplay on here. Some of it could be a crossword puzzle theme. Have you ever considered making or collaborating on a crossword puzzle? I'd be down to collab if you want to. And I viewed it with, who are you, dude? That was wrong. Will is the best. But I'm glad that I responded graciously and was like, thank you for reaching out. My grandmother, who I loved, my late grandmother, I very strongly associate her with doing crossword puzzles. So like, sure.
That was the selling point for you, was that crosswords remind me of grandmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not?
I was favorably disposed towards them, and I had no idea of the like cool, new, independent crossword world that was like on the come up at the time. And also just how cool, like, regular old New York Times crosswords are. Regular old. You know, I just didn't know. I wasn't tuned in. But I wrote back to Will and I was like, okay, sure, I'm interested. And then I was like, here's an idea. What if you made a grid and I wrote clues that rhyme? And then that, I mean, it happened right away. The seeds were there from the very first exchange. We have an email that documents it to the minute when that exchange happened. So it's cool to look back at something that turned out to be so major and be like, that was when it kicked off.
That's amazing. And Will Shortz was on the first episode of this season of this show.
Was he?
Yeah.
Another Mohonk 2024. Is that where you guys met for the first time, David?
It's not where we met for the first time, but it was certainly where we had a lot of time to get to know each other.
Wow. I think Will is, to me, the person who immediately also comes to mind is Weird Al, where they're a living legend and they really have the goods and they're also really lovely. Both of them are just like interested in connecting and being nice and having fun and being enthusiastic about their passions.
Wholesome. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Just the most good-hearted, wholesome people I've ever met. Okay, so you met this guy and you constructed a crossword together where you wrote these rhyming couplets for the clues. How do you go from that to making a whole-ass show out of it?
So we had that idea, and then around that same time, my friend Dominic Delbenny, the aforementioned, I'm going to call him Dom henceforth because that's what I call him, had been working at Audible. And he and I knew each other a little bit through comedy, and we're both like in our mid-40s and we're into hip-hop when we were teenagers in the 90s. And so we had connected in comedy circles. And Dom reached out and he was like, I've been working at Audible and I hate corporate America. And I really think I can start my own comedy record label. And I'm going to quit my job and go do that. But I want 1 to 2 other projects besides releasing albums for comedians and getting them played on Sirius XM radio, which like throws off enough royalties for people to live on. And he was like, so I'm looking for a few other projects. I'm just reaching out to people I like. If you have any ideas that could be a cool thing to work on, let me know. And I said, well, funny timing, because this crossword guy just reached out to me and I have this like crossword rap idea. And Dom was like, my mom and I compete to solve the New York Times crossword every day and share our times with each other. And you know I love rap. And he was like, let's make it a thing. So our idea actually initially was that he would release vinyl. And the front cover of the vinyl would be a crossword grid that Nediger and I built. And on the back would be printed the clues. And then on the wax would be the across clue rap, the down clue rap, and then like an answers rap. And you could play that, and I would sell it at stand-up shows I was doing, or like when I toured at colleges, which I used to do.
This is not a bad idea.
I know. I was like, this is such a cool place to take it. And Dom is like a vinyl head and loves records and has thousands of them and had to like get his house specially reinforced because the weight of the vinyl was like messing up his floor. Anyway. So then the final piece is My friend Chris Duffy is this amazing comedian who hosts the TED podcast, How to Be a Better Human, and is about to come out with an amazing book about humor making your life better. Anyways, I had lunch with Chris, and I told him about all this, and he was like, that's not a merch item, it's a live show. And I said, what? And he was like, trust me, it's a live show.
It can be both.
Yeah, it could. We've never gone the merch angle. We have like 7 kick-ass merch ideas that all would cost so much to produce that we have to like wait till the time is right. But we have a whole stable of them.
Oh, I get it. You work with professional crossword constructors to make your grid and puzzles for the Crossword Show. Who do you typically work with? What does that engagement look like?
I don't come from the crossword world. I come from comedy. And so when we were so presumptuous as to call our show The Crossword Show, I was like, this is an insular community, and I would be very suspicious of me if I just stepped into this subculture and was like, we are the Crossword Show. And so it was really important to me to be like a good guest in this house. And I thought one thing that's really good about the way this is happening is that Nediger is part of this community and his cosign means a lot. And I didn't want to blaze in and be like, what's up, everybody? Comedy's in the building. I really liked that Will was part of things. And the other thing I want to say is that collaborating is really important to me because another thing about the show is I think, though I don't say it in any of the press materials, but am willing to say on a podcast, that the serendipitousness of some of the coincidences that we come across and also engineer, but I do think there's like a magic show element to the show.
Very much so.
I want those coincidences and synchronicities to be genuine. And so what's cool about the way we collaborate with constructors to make the grid is that they just hand me a grid and I don't put my thumb on the scale creatively. I'm not like, hey, I know I want to bring about this outlandish palindrome, and so can you help justify it by putting this word in the grid? I really want to be able to say, even if nobody ever thinks to ask me, or I don't say it on stage, I really want to know that the coincidences that we're putting on stage came from a true place. So I think that if I made the grid, again, it would be too much thumb on the scale. So I love the collaboration so that I can say, no, they just handed us a grid. Everything comes from choices that they made. And so those are 2 really important aspects of the collab for me.
So you end up kind of in an interesting position where you're sort of like Houdini, who has been locked up and you have to free yourself through all of these different words and tie it all together and take a bow at the end.
Beautifully put. I mean, sometimes I think of it as like we paint ourselves into a corner and then it's fun to watch somebody get out of the corner that they painted themselves into. And so to now answer your question, the way that we have found all of our collaborators is that it's telephone. We said to Will after the first puzzle, who should we work with next? And he was like, I think Laura Braunstein, who had just founded The Incubator, which was all puzzles by women and women-aligned constructors. He was like, Laura would be cool to work with. And so then we met Laura, and she referred us to Rebecca Falcon, and then it's just gone from there. And so we like that too. We don't even choose what constructor to work with. The last person tells us. We just want to be handed the tools, and then it's like Iron Chef. Here's the ingredients. Make what you can.
That's awesome. So when you say they give you a completed grid, they give you the grid and it has all the answers in it, and then you're the one that makes the clues for the words?
Right. We tell them how big to make it.
So I'm curious at this point, outside of your show, what is your relationship with crossword puzzles now?
I did the New York Times crossword religiously every day for a couple years when I understood that I was going to be stepping into this realm. It's enjoyable. It's like not arduous homework. And I also thought I want to be fluent in the language of this space. And so I did that for a couple years. And then I lost my organic enthusiasm for it. And when it started feeling like something I was doing obligatorily as opposed to because it was giving me the juice, I was like, cool. I feel like I understand. I appreciate what this is. And I'm not going to spoil it for myself by forcing myself to do it when it's not fun. I love doing spelling bee. I do it every morning. I really like Wordle. I do that pretty consistently, though not with the same obsessiveness as I do spelling bee. And I love cryptic crosswords, which are crossword puzzle, American style, as they call them, crosswords, like we're familiar with from the New York Times. I know I don't need to explain for this audience.
Well, if you're interested in this, the second episode of this season, we had Barry Joseph on, who wrote an extensive book on Stephen Sondheim's relationship with puzzles. And Sondheim brought cryptic crosswords to the United States. And we have a whole section there diving deep into cryptics.
I know Barry, and I have read some of his book, and I think it's so cool that cryptics and lyrics, because that is, I think, the thing that I really is like the through line of my work. I'm not a musician, and even comedy, I like lyrics because it's conveying information in a precise and constrained way. Sondheim was like a consummate lyricist, of course, and music is so crossword puzzly, even down to the black and white grid-iness of a musical score. And so I really like cryptics, and now I'm even a little burned out on cryptics, and so I have to do variety cryptics to really feel the flow state puzzle engagement, and I don't know what else there is. What do you do after you burn out on variety cryptics? I don't know.
Your tolerance has risen.
I know. I need the hard stuff.
Yes, you're looking for a higher high.
Yes, the raw uncut. I need it.
You should come on PG's Playhouse. I'll make some crazy puzzles for you.
I love it. Well, I didn't know PG's Playhouse is a title, and that's incredible. Gold star, A+, not that you need it from me. I think escape rooms for me are like a new frontier. So when I'm there, I'm like, oh, this is way above the top of my range. Like, I'm working my ass off, and it's a joy.
PG's Playhouse is a new podcast we made because I wanted to write puzzles, and they're all like wordplay style puzzles with trivia and things like that.
Ooh, I want to join and also contribute.
We will get you on that show. It'll be a good time.
Fun.
Zach's a busy man, and he could not stick around to join us for the bonus episode for this episode. We make a bonus companion episode for every single thing that we record here, and even for times that we are off season. So today's bonus show, it's PG and I.
We sat and talked about David and Lisa's recent Room Escape Artist escape room tour, where they took a whole group of enthusiasts to the Netherlands to go play a whole bunch of the world's best escape rooms.
50 people, and we had a blast.
And if you want to get onto one of those tours, well, there's often a waiting list, and they get sold out within days, if not hours, of when the tour is announced. One of the things that being a Patreon member can get you is it can give you early tour access, so it can guarantee you a spot on these exclusive tours.
Come have fun with us.
They are so much fun.
If you have the money and you are financially stable enough to support us, please consider checking out patreon.com/roomescapeartist and tossing a couple dollars per month our way, or spring for an annual membership. You can save 10%. But that money goes so far for us. Thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who supports us. Talk to me about the nuance of crossword puzzles in a live stage show. What are you looking for in a grid for the Crossword Show, and how is it different from what you would want in a daily crossword puzzle?
A thing I didn't know that I'll share in case other listeners didn't is that the truth is that, except for a couple things at the edges of the range, it's all in the clues that makes it how hard it is. You could write a really difficult clue for escape room, and you could also write like a very across the plate one. So I want a grid that has some good nouns and not a lot of words like akin and thus. I like having some of those because it takes too long to like have a respectably sized crossword that you can also base a show around and get it done in 75 to 80 minutes, which is my goal. So I've published 2 puzzles in the Times, a quick digression here, co-constructed 2 puzzles, one with Andrea Carla Michaels and one with Ben Zimmer, both incredible crossword and language and wordplay people. And Andrea and I put the word chinchilla in one of our puzzles. And I've been a vegan for like almost 25 years, and the Times sent back a proof. And they didn't take our clue, and instead it said something like South American mammal that's prized for its fur. And I was like, can we clue that animal in some other way? I'm like a staunch plant-based lifestyle advocate. And they were like, sure. So I don't think there's any word that anyone would put in a grid that's like a bummer, but you want to avoid those.
You want to be true to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've asked for words to get changed a couple times, like maybe the celebrity that's going to bum everybody out, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then what I'm looking for is, you guys both know about themes in crosswords, obviously, but it's like some built-in wordplay with the grid. In our first few puzzles, we have 6 crossword shows currently, and there's also a secret puzzle 0 that Will Nediger and I made that's way too big and doesn't have a show written around it, but is like a cool, there's 2 clue wraps and an answers wrap that goes with it. Anyway, I digress. I like that any of our grids just seem like an innocuous, this just looks like a puzzle grid. Maybe they're a little smaller, again, because of the time constraints of a ticketed live event, but I want it to be a totally normal crossword puzzle that could go in anywhere.
What difficulty would you say is the crossword that you use in the show? Is it like a Tuesday? Is it a Wednesday difficulty?
PG, David, because it's a trusted space and it's just the 3 of us who will ever talk about this or hear what I'm about to say.
No one's listening.
Exactly. Right.
It's a podcast.
Right.
There's so many podcasts. No one listens to any of them.
It's very tough to cut through the noise. Okay. So the truth is, in American style or New York Times style crosswords are what they call no squares are unchecked, meaning that every square is part of both an across entry and a down entry in the puzzle. So if a solving panel got every across answer right, we force our solvers to do all the acrosses in order and then all the downs in order, as opposed to a regular solve where you would toggle back and forth as you went. If they got every across answer right, the puzzle would be totally filled in by the time we started the down round. And when Dom and I figured that out, we were like, oh God, that's a problem. Our show is fatally flawed. But then we were like, wait, let's write some clues to be so hard that unless people are really, really playing at the top of their game, they just aren't going to get them. And so some of our clues, like one across, we make it like the easiest Monday level because we don't want to start the show off with the first time you see these guests solve a clue, they fall on their faces. We want to like kick things off with good energy and momentum. But then as we get later into the puzzle, we make things too hard to solve. They're fair, but we really make them as hard as we can because we want some texture in the show and we want some business left when we get to the downs.
Ah, sandbagging the guests.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of your guests, you've had so many incredible guests on the Crossword Show, including but very much not limited to Bomani Jones, Baratunde Thurston, Pete Holmes, and Lisa Loeb. What makes for a great guest on stage?
The thing I care least about with our guests is that they're awesome at solving crosswords. I don't think it's that fun to just watch someone like smoke a crossword. It's fun to watch the Tyler Hinmans and Paolo Pascos of the world blast through a crossword at superhuman speeds, but that's not what our show is. And so we've had people who get very into being good at the solve, and I always want to be like, I hope you can give yourself the grace of putting it down. It's not what the show's about. I actually think the thing audiences like most is when people say, I am bad at crosswords. I'm not going to be good at what I've been brought here to do. Everyone's expectations should be very, very managed. And then when you underpromise and overdeliver, not only do you look good, but I've seen it too many times for it to be a fluke that the crowd just will see somebody not solve, and then they get one at the top of the down round, and the whole room is like, yeah! And it's really kind of beautiful. And like our crossword loving, sweet, gentle kind of audiences, it's very lovely to see these people like get behind someone figuring out where the crossword juice is and what it's all about. Another thing that I love, and it's a skill that I'm trying to cultivate more in myself, is just always having something to say that's at least a little bit interesting every time the rhythm of the show sort of like hits the ball back into the solver's court. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I'll have solvers where I'll come to the end of some digression that I'm going off on that's the material and, you know, what the show is. And I'll say like, solvers, over to you. And people just sort of look at me and spread their hands and look a little like, I don't really have anything to say. And then I just have to keep working and being the host of the show and the guy who has things to say. So many solvers are generous, and when I kick it over to them, they contribute something. So those two things, being upfront about your skills, not getting too hung up in the game, and then just having a thing to say when you're on a panel. I just like people being themselves. I think the circumstances are extreme enough that you don't really have to try and be funny. If you're a funny person, that's great. Be funny. It's like the joy of live performance is we're all here doing this and we're all experiencing the same things, and it unites us as a community. And so we're a team.
Help me understand from a design perspective why you're having the guests on stage instead of focusing on that audience interaction. You already have an audience filled with crossword enthusiasts. Why not just throw the questions out to them?
Audiences are really smart. And so if it was a group opportunity, we would have every one of our puzzles solved at the acrosses.
Your Mohunk show would have been very short.
Yes, exactly. So that's one reason. We are fighting this thing where I'm like holding the beach ball of the crowd's desire to show that they're smart. They all know the answers. And so I'm holding that underwater, and we have to like selectively allow them to, sorry for the mixed metaphor, blow off a little steam from time to time by being like, crowd, you guys get to yell this answer. 3, 2, 1. And I will report from the stage that you could really feel people are being like, God, finally, I've wanted to answer so many of these. Thank you for letting me. And then also, I just think that the show is so scripted. And so I think part of the joy of the show is getting to see all these different personalities engage with a crossword, which for a lot of people isn't something they do very often. And the thing that's the most alive and going to be different every time about the show is the unscripted interactions between me and the solvers. And for me, that's one of the most fun parts of doing it, is that X factor.
So we've talked about what makes for a good guest, but what makes for a good audience for the Crossword Show?
Our audiences are the best. They're smart. They chose to come to the Crossword Show. They are nice.
Nerds.
They're nerds. They never heckle. When I tell them at the beginning, don't yell out answers at the solvers, don't even whisper answers at the solvers, and somebody always does, and I always fake sternly tell them not to do it, and I look at them and they're so abashed. They are aghast at what they did. They can't even believe it. And I just am always like, you sweetie pies.
I can confirm. And also, when I went to your show, I literally sat next to somebody that I recognized from game nights that I would go to. So it is a small puzzling and gaming world out there, but they're all lovely people.
I do think that the puzzle boom that the New York Times has championed has made the puzzle community just explode. So many more people, I think, are puzzle and games people now. And again, I think we've been able to leverage that in a wonderful way.
What do you get when you mix pals, puzzles, and trivia? That's right, it's PG's Playhouse, our newest podcast where you can play along with our guests through some games featuring a blend of wordplay and trivia.
Then I share an interesting bit of trivia, lore, or history based on the episode's theme.
What's that? I can't hear you. The movie is too dang loud, and none of the titles are making any sense. Can you figure out the movie from this nonsense phrase? Churros tick perk. Listen to the end for the answer.
In episode 26, I share a bit of old movie trivia about Sense Around, a little-known movie technology which literally delivered an earth-shaking intensity to movies, and it shook the ceiling plaster from man's Chinese theater.
To listen to this episode and all the rest, check out PG's Playhouse, available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can just search for PG's Playhouse or click the link in our show notes. Did you figure out what movie is Churros Tick Perk? It's Jurassic Park. Listen to the rest of the episode on PG's Playhouse. It'll be a sound investment of your time.
How many versions of the Crossword Show do you have? You've mentioned a few of them.
Yeah, technically there's 6. There's one that still needs to be rewritten. There's like the Jews say BCE instead of BC. It stands for before the Common Era instead of before Christ. So there's a BCE era of the Crossword Show, which I think of as pre-pandemic. And then I wrote a giant show in the pandemic that it's so big and sprawling, but it did change the way that I write the show. And so since the pandemic, I haven't written a 7th show and I haven't written a new show in a few years because I've been engaged in an endeavor of bringing all our other shows up to our current standards. And each one takes a year to get in shape, at least. We have 5 shows that I would put on stage now, and then there's one that remains to be rewritten. But yeah, I think there's 6 in the mix, which to me is like a theatrical run where you have one night off a week and then you run the other 6 on the other nights of the week. So I look forward to the point where that becomes a thing in a city like New York, where we have access to amazing guest panels and we just run the cycle for as long as the run is.
I love that idea.
How different are the versions from each other?
They're all the Crossword Show. I think it's kind of like psychedelics. I don't know how much the two of you have done of those, but
More than enough for me to understand this comparison.
I feel like every time I do psychedelics, I'm always like, whoa, this is like its total own thing.
It feels brand new every time.
Yes, but there's also a recognizable through line where you're like, oh, right, this is like coming from the same source. So I think each show there's a strong Crossword Show identity to the proceedings, but each one has its own set of rules, its own set of callbacks, its own set of themes. And I'm like groping my way towards using the show to like try and say things about what I think being alive is like. So I somewhat feel like I'm saying the same thing every time, but it's like a object that you're like turning and describing from different angles. So that's my goal by the end of the show, is to sort of, not to sound too grandiose, I'm like embarrassed at my own words right now. I want it to be a little bit more than puzzles. My mom is a rabbi, and when I was a teenager and liked youth group because it was the only place I got culture and got to like kiss girls, like those things weren't available to me at my Missouri high school. I was like, maybe I'll be a rabbi because I like this world so much. But I really like having found the path that I've found for myself. But I do think that the part of me that could have been a rabbi, like I'm trying to get that into the show a tiny bit.
What would make you make a 7th show?
Oh, finishing the rewrites on the last shows. It feels annoying in like, I want to have like the other work done before I move on to the new work. I got to get this task out of the way before I dive into show 7. I want to have like a clean workspace.
Behind the scenes of the Crossword Show, you have your producer, Dom, who you have mentioned before, Dominic Del Bene, running your tech. Talk to me about his role in this production.
Sure. Let me throw out a fun word tidbit, since I think I've just been flapping my gums.
Love word tidbits.
Here we go. Dominic's record label that he left Audible to start is now a thing. It's legit. They release great albums by terrific comedians. And it's called Blonde Medicine, which is an anagram of Dominic Del Bene. There it is. That was the tidbit. Anyway, Dom is, first of all, he's the most ethical person I've ever encountered in show business. He is without peer. And he's fun. He's a great hang when we're on the road. He also brings to the show a dimension of technical know-how that I do not have. For him, a fun puzzle is to improve and dial in the machines and workflows that go into making the show happen. Besides me over on stage left and the 2 guest panelists on stage right, and Dominic in the tech booth, the 5th character of the show is a slide presentation that's in the middle of the stage that is helping the audience see the solve of the crossword, and also a PowerPoint presentation that is like the slides that accompany the material that I'm doing. And also the music videos that go with my clue raps and the answers rap at the end. And so Dom is in the back, he's unseen to the audience, and I want people to have it feel like they're watching magic happen because these slides are just ticking by in perfect synchronization with what's going on stage, and I'm not visibly hitting a clicker or anything like that. And that's Dom. And he has this amazing setup that tech nerds like lose their mind about, where he's got 2 computers going, and on one of them, he's running a bespoke crossword presentation software that he developed. And on the other one, there's like our PowerPoint, and he's literally crossfading between the 2 with the video switcher. So he's live switching between the 2 laptops as the appropriate moment in the show demands, and making the right thing happen at the right time. So it's dazzling. And then besides that, he's just like a good dude and a creative bounce offer without parallel. And yeah, he's just like good to have around. He's a business partner par excellence.
Can't ask for more than that.
I know. I lucked out.
How has the show gone wrong?
Oh my God. I love this question, and nobody's ever asked it before. Here are some ways the show has gone wrong. Oh my God, I love this. Okay. Way number one. We've had one ever, and I will never name them, but we've had one solver ever who was antagonistic towards me on stage. Very early. It was maybe our second show, literally, maybe our third. I don't even know. But everything I said, they were like, oh, wow. Okay, straight white guy. They were literally saying that stuff like almost every time I did some material on stage.
They know-anded.
They know-anded. I just wasn't prepared for it. I will take the note and like I'll examine some of the things that are being pointed out. And of course, we all can grow and be more self-aware and aware of the world around us. But I feel grateful that hasn't been repeated. But I would consider it a way that the show went wrong. We didn't know, but we booked someone who was going to come in hot and straight at me. Another way the show went wrong. Nowadays, we've refined the kind of venue where we perform, and TBH, places like escape room conventions, and another lane we've identified, live venues that are affiliated with public radio stations like WBUR City Space in Boston and KQED headquarters in San Francisco. Those kinds of venues, we have our audience in that city, but there's also this built-in layer of people who are going to come to the show because they know Will Short's Puzzle Master segment from Weekend Edition, and they know Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, which has similarities with our show, a panel of funny people doing challenges on stage. And so the mistake we used to make was we'd be like, we're a rap show, so we need to go to places that have like the best sound system we can find. And so we would go to like rock clubs in Burlington, Vermont that had like the hugest subwoofers you've ever seen, but like barf in the green room. And nobody would be at the show and the music would sound great, but nobody would be there. And the people who were like, what is this? So I think that's another way that the show has gone wrong.
You have to know your audience.
Yes, and it just takes time. You just can't have experience by any other way than having the experiences.
Audience over AV equipment. Got it.
Yes. I don't think it's a way that the show went wrong, but I used to think that the problem I was going to have on stage was that I wouldn't have enough material to present to the crowd to make the show happen. And what I've learned as we've gone is that the issue is editing.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be way more things to say. And so it's kind of like, what are the things that are going to be funny, that are going to advance the themes, that I might be able to pay off later in the show, and cut mercilessly everything else. So the issue is not a dearth of ideas. It is the exact opposite. And I didn't know that for a long time.
You got to end up trusting yourself and the material you have.
Yes.
So we're going to have this show and you and Dom at Recon Laval in 2026. So if anybody is interested in experiencing this, realityescapecon.com. You can get your tickets now. They will sell out. This show is going to be wonderful, and we are so incredibly excited to have you and Dom joining us at this year's event.
Can I say something about that? Do you think people just know what Words Weekend is? I didn't before we were invited to perform at it.
Yeah, Wonderful World of Words Weekend. It's this big word puzzle festival at the Mohonk Mountain House in upstate New York, which is this gorgeous castle-like hotel out in the mountains. It's picturesque and serene, and then it is just filled with the most lovely puzzle nerds and speakers and performers in the puzzling and word space.
Yeah, and so that's where we met in 2024. So when we did the show at Words Weekend at Mohonk, I think most of the people who come to my shows are like, I think comedy is the major headline and maybe puzzles, but they aren't like to a person, hardcore puzzle people. There's a good amount of puzzle people in the crowd and people who are like favorably disposed towards crosswords, but they aren't people who would shell out to spend the weekend at Mohonk doing like the hardest most bespoke puzzles that that team can throw at them.
Mm-hmm.
When I performed at that weekend, when we did the Crossword Show there, I was like worried about it because I was sort of like, is my show just for lay people but not hardcore fans of this? And it was great. It was one of my favorite shows. And so it was such a joy, and words fail me to say how excited I am to come to an escape room convention and strut our stuff there. Now I know to expect that the puzzle aspect of things, everyone's going to be right there with it. I just am excited for the things that people who would self-select to come to the escape room convention are going to already know and be up on. I can't wait to get back in that room. So thank you.
We're excited to have you.
I can't wait to take you to some amazing escape rooms up there.
I'm so excited.
We're going to blow your damn mind.
Oh my God. I love escape rooms, and I still have beginner mind in them. It's such a joy.
Hello, chums. Alex from Cogs here with another testimonial from a big old Cogs customer. This week, I bring you a master of UK escape rooms, a pioneer in the field with a penchant for off-the-wall humour and the bluest eyes in the business. It is, of course, my friend and your spiritual king, Mr. Nick Moran, past creator of Time Run and current director of Phantom Peak, the unique, immersive open-world experience that was 13th in Blue Loop's World Top Immersive Experiences. Wow. So, Nick, what have you got to say for yourself?
We came up with the idea of Phantom Peak when we wanted to produce something that was different from a lot of things in the immersive sector. We needed systems that were reliable, that were sturdy, that were flexible, and that's why Cogs was an absolute no-brainer for Phantom Peak. I would say that if you want to make more immersive stuff, if you want to make more immersive experiences, and you're from an escape room background or something like that, the way that Cogs can help you is actually by freeing you to focus on the things that matter, make your life easier by using Cogs, make your life easier by using a system that is tried and trusted and can do everything you want anyway.
Oh, Nick, stop it. His eyes are much better in real life, you know. If you'd like to know more about Cogs, go to cogs.show or find us on Instagram or TikTok. We also have a YouTube channel, The Cogs Lab, if you'd like to listen to our new podcast, Inventures. If you fancy giving us a go, get an exclusive 50% off our starter set plus free shipping by using the code REPOD, that's REPOD, at checkout. Cheers all.
I'm curious to hear your origin story. How did you become a rapper?
I started listening to rap in like 1990. I was 10. I was born in 1980. And the first rap cassette I had was Naughty by Nature's self-titled debut album, which has the song OPP on it most famously.
It's a great album for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I learned a lot. And I was like a sheltered little Jewish kid. My mom was in rabbinical school at the time that I got that. And I was a bookish, verbal child, and rap is so verbal. And I was just dazzled by the coolness and danger of the world that was being presented. And I, of course, had no awareness of the racial and economic and social complexities of being a little white sheltered Jewish boy listening to rap. And I just was like, this is so word-y and so cool seeming. I wrote a song called Pop Music about how I didn't grow up with a dad around. And so I think some of the like male role model energy that I got as a very ravenous for that young boy came from the almost entirely male rappers I was listening to. And so I just really gravitated to it, and I had no awareness that like this wasn't something I should start participating in. And so I started writing rap lyrics myself. And I did that for a long time, writing about the kinds of things that I heard people talk about in rap. After a while, I was like, okay, I've grown up enough to know that I'm like not participating in crime in a glamorous way. And I was like, I need to stop writing this stuff. And so I'll just key into the raps that you write about what a great rapper you are. And you can just be witty and talk about your skill. And so I did that for a long time. And then I was like, even that I can no longer really do with a straight face or even like a winky face. And I just need to stop. But then I started this sketch group with my friends in college. And then, like I said earlier, we like took it out and made a living on the college circuit for a while. And we would write these sketches that would be like 2.5 minutes long that would have a beginning, middle, and end. And at some point, inevitably, I was just like, wait, that's like the length of a song. And I have this experience writing lyrics. So I can write sketches now that are the length of a song, and I can write lyrics. Why don't I write a song that has a premise and a reveal of the game of the sketch, and then the little payoff, tie it all up at the end. And it felt like stepping off of one train and onto another when the sketch group wound down, but my comedy rap era started. I was just like, it's the same skill set, just the delivery mechanism is a little different.
So where did the stage name Mr. Napkins come from?
Oy vey. My high school friends and I all had like silly rap names that we would rap with. And I don't even remember where I came up with MC Mr. Napkins, but it was like my rap name as a teen. And then in my mid-20s, when I started doing comedy raps again, I was like, that's my rap name. Why would I consider this an opportunity to rethink the wisdom of that choice? And so I was MC Mr. Napkins, and I would tell people, and it lost me some work because it is so off the charts, like wacky, and conveys exactly what I was, which was like a goofy white guy.
It's like the whitest rap name.
Yes, exactly. So part of me cringes when I look back on it. I officially retired it in 2013 by means of A, not using it anymore, and B, releasing a song called Stage Name, where I was like, it's like a stage on a rocket ship. I needed it to hide behind when I was at an earlier stage of my career. The song goes, but now it's like a used up stage on a rocket ship and it's time to let it fall away and disappear. So yeah, I was like, I'm not MC Mr. Napkins anymore. It's 2025 and plenty of people still know me by that. But for what it's worth, I'm over a decade past it. And it's just like embarrassing childhood photos of yourself. Though I was definitely not a child when I chose to start using that name professionally. And I'm just like, you can't grow up until you grow up. I bloomed late, and when I was 33, I was like, I'm going to stop being known by this ridiculous, childish name that makes people not take me seriously.
Hey, everyone's got their own path.
Yeah, just got to go through it.
While researching for this episode, I found that the incredibly silly ranking website Ranker currently has you listed as the 10th best Jewish rapper of all time.
Wow.
Care to comment on the honor?
Ugh. That feels high to me, honestly. I could name so many more. I guess I don't care to comment on it.
Yeah, we're just messing with you, but it is where that currently stands as of date and time of recording.
That's hilarious. Who's number one?
Mac Miller.
Oh.
Mac Miller followed by all the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
In all seriousness, I am wondering what interesting things happen when you're living at the intersection of both Jewish and rapper.
Yeah, I feel I have a somewhat complicated relationship to this identity that I've carved out for myself as a rapper. And I used to, I think, have the voice of what I was doing on stage was like, it is so unlikely that this guy, with the set of assumptions we can make about who he is and where he comes from, all of which are correct, is A, rapping at all, this like historically black, very socially aware art form. And what I was hoping in the best case scenario would come across was like, as far as the lyrics and delivery go, he's not bad. But like a lot of the game was like, it's so unlikely that this guy is rapping about these unlikeliest of topics that are not, quote unquote, what rap is about. That juxtaposition was where the fun was. And I think American Jews are like bookish nerds, were Egon Spangler, were Albert Einstein, other roles that I've played in epic rap battles of history. And so like to take on the dangerous parts of rap, the contrast was just like so absurd. And so hopefully that was entertaining. And that's really limited and it's really oblivious and it's really bad. I, at a certain point, was just like, I can't do this anymore. That said, I really enjoy rapping, and it is now like the dominant global cultural force, and I think it has moved into all these other spaces. And so I do still rap in the show. I really not try to do the yo, I'm on the mic, and like I just try to rap like I talk. And I do really love crafting lyrics. We talked earlier about that painting yourself into a corner and then escaping from said corner with all the constraints that implies is where a lot of the joy of creativity lies for me. And getting stuff across in lyrics is hard to do. And on the payoff side, when you can pull it off, I think it really delivers. And so I enjoy the intellectual and creative challenge of writing lyrics. So I still do use rap in that way. And if I'm rapping about crossword clues, as opposed to how unlikely it is that I'm a rapper, I can live with it, even though I acknowledge that it is cooperative in certain ways. And it's an ever-evolving process of finding my peace with it.
Wow, I really appreciate your very sincere answer to that question. And I'll say that it feels like appreciation and not appropriation. I do think there's a difference and it's a fine line, but I think you've walked it very well. As you mentioned, you've also been a longtime writing and recurring performer on the iconic YouTube series, Epic Rap Battles of History, which was incredible. This was at like the height of kind of the YouTube creator era, and it's where I first discovered you. How did you get involved with that production?
Do you know this math puzzle trick game that I'm sure this won't make it into the episode, but will one of you indulge me and play this game? If either of you doesn't know it, the way it works is we're going to count by either 1, 2, or 3 numbers at a time. So if I say 1, you could say 2, or you could say 2, 3, or 2, 3, 4, and then it's the other person's turn and you choose. And we just are going to count, and then whoever says 21 loses. Does either of you know this game?
No, I don't think I've ever played this.
David, do you know it?
I'm familiar.
Okay, so PG, will you play with me?
Sure.
Okay, do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay.
1, 2,
3, 4,
5, 6, 7,
8,
9,
10, 11, 12,
13,
14, 15, 16.
17, 18.
Okay, 19, 20.
Did I have to stop at 21?
Whoever says 21 loses the game, so since you have to take a turn.
Okay, yeah, so
you
21.
lose.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so that's a rigged game, and obviously whoever says 20 is going to win. But to get to 20, you have to be the person who says 16. And to be the person who says 16, you have to be the person who says 12 and 8 and 4. And actually then the way to get to 4 is to be the person who goes second. So the game starts when I go, do you want to go first or second? And it's before you even realize you're playing the game and you have no idea how this is all going to play out. And the reason I bring it up is because I have found this to have a very deep life lesson, which is that the game starts way sooner than you think, and you are playing it immediately. And that can be scary because you're like, oh my God, how long was I unaware of the fact that I was playing a game? But the reason I bring it up in answer to your question is because Epic Rap Battles of History is the longest job I've ever had. I've been working for them since 2011, and I literally am still working for them. They are going to be one of my income streams in 2025. And I met Lloyd Alquist, who is one of the 2 people from Epic Rap Battles of History, in the year 2000. We were at an improv festival together that my sketch group attended, and there was like an embarrassing college basement freestyle session, and Lloyd and I met, and we were like, oh. And so then when I moved to LA 10 years later, we reconnected, and then when Epic Rap Battles started, he was like, hey, we're going to start making this series, and we need a writer.
I love that your answer to this was, let me walk you through this game to emphasize my point of playing the long game.
Yes, I have a job in 2025 because like I went to an improv festival in 2000. So it just is wild to me, but that's the origin of my relationship with the series.
That's an incredible answer. You've played a variety of roles in the show, including, as you mentioned, a few of these: Albert Einstein, Doc Brown, Sherlock Holmes, Ebenezer Scrooge, Stephen King, Egon Spengler, Voltaire, Walt Disney, Alexander the Great, Wayne Gretzky, and John Wick. Looking back, do any of these performances have a special resonance for you?
Yes, I am always typecast in ERB as the bookish Jew. Literally, when I played Egon Spengler in Ghostbusters versus Mythbusters, I showed up to hair and makeup and they were like, you're good. Like, they were like, where are your glasses? I played Albert Einstein. I played Doc Brown, who is a take on Albert Einstein. I played Stephen King, who isn't Jewish, but is bookish and bespectacled. Anytime I get to play someone who's not like a writer or a scientist or an intellectual, I'm like, cool, this is fun. So the least fun one that I've played is Wayne Gretzky because I don't care about hockey. But for me to play a blonde Canadian, like, it was hilarious. The best one was John Wick. We all know that it's more fun to be the villain. And so he's an anti-hero and like a dangerous killer. And so getting to pretend to be a badass, I also genuinely love those movies. And that was such a fun role to get to be villainous for a change.
It was a notable performance for you. I'm also a very big fan of your Sherlock Holmes. I thought that Sherlock Holmes versus Batman episode was notably brutal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, again, like a smart guy.
Yeah, but an edgy smart guy.
Yeah, well, we made it edgy.
Sherlock Holmes is edgy on his own.
Yes, you're right. I'm so impressed with Lloyd and Pete, the geniuses behind ERB. They managed to make a thing that is so broad and also is really smart. And I really give them a lot of credit. I'm a cog in the wheel, but they are the guys, and they have just stuck to their guns. Like, they're very uncompromising about the series, and I've learned a lot about that from them.
It's a very smart series, and you can see it in the Philosophers episode where you're playing Voltaire. The fact that the episode ends with all of them just arguing with each other is perfect.
Yeah. And the Disney episode you mentioned, that came out right after Maker Studios, which was like a internet content factory that ERB had to deal with. Disney bought Maker and was laying down some stuff about what ERB was going to do and now owned their contract. And they were like, we're going to make an episode that's very critical of Disney and like Walt Disney. They're using the series to like talk about life in a way that I respect. Yeah, they're great. I love that job and I love being associated with that series. They also, I have to say, as their employee, they are just always pushing me to play to the top of my intelligence. I've had other jobs that want me to dumb it down, and that's fine. Sometimes it just can't be as brainy as like the top of the range, but the ERB guys are like, give us that. Make it as puzzly and twisty and as challenging in the era of genius.com. It'll all get figured out. Don't worry about it. Like, it's something for the fans to do to unpack it and figure out the puzzles. So go for it. And that's really precious.
That's saying a lot for a guy that got bored by cryptic crosswords.
For those who are unfamiliar, genius.com is a website where you can go that basically crowdsources lyric analysis, and it is very interesting.
They come up with stuff for our ERB lyrics that were like, we didn't put that in, we didn't think that, but your idea is great, and sure, the text is out of our hands, it's yours now.
Rewatching a lot of these episodes in a row, I found myself wondering about the intersection of writing and casting for this show. These characters have very specific flows, and I'm dying to know how often a character is written first and then cast versus written for a specific performer and their style.
The answer depends on whether the person who's going to be guest featuring is a musician and especially a rapper and is going to bring their own flow to it, or like an actor or a comedian who's going to need to follow our demo pretty closely. So we wrote stuff for Snoop Dogg, who played Moses in one episode, and we were like, who are we to be giving Snoop Dogg a demo of how he should rap? And you know what? He made a lot of it his own, and he took stuff exactly as we presented it to him, both, which was really great. It was the best way for it to go. This is one of my favorite ERB stories, but Weird Al played Isaac Newton, and the ERB guys were like, we want you to write Isaac Newton's verse, and we also would like you to demo it. And so I was doing a terrible comedy club weekend, and I was like alone in a hotel and really depressed and not happy about my career. And I wrote this verse and demoed it, and I really specifically remember being like, I'm not going to do an impression of Weird Al that's going to wind up in Weird Al's hands, but I am going to put like a thin skin of what I hear Al rapping this like on my delivery of the demo. And so I sent it to my bosses at Epic Rap Battles, and they sent it to Al. And then when it came time to record his vocals, they said, do you want to attend the studio session? You need to be a fly on the wall, but come and watch this special thing.
Yeah, I imagine everyone at Epic Rap Battles was quietly losing their minds at having Weird Al in the building.
100%. So he shows up. He's the nicest guy. I'm sitting in the control room at the studio session, and Al starts laying down his vocals. And it was very clear to me that his performance was really hewing closely to the demo I had given him. But that demo was an impression of him. So I was watching Al impersonate me, impersonating him. And I was like, my 13-year-old self, hell, my 7-year-old self could not fathom what is happening right now. It was just one of the most exciting and gratifying showbiz experiences. It's like you can only construct a meaningful bucket list in retrospect. I couldn't have put that on my bucket list, but it definitely is a checked off item.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So is there an epic rap battle episode that has never been made that you would love to create?
Oh, I will hearken back to the Crossword Show, PG, in my answer to this, which is that sometimes when we're picking out matchups for a new batch of battles, the guys will say, who do you want to play? And I'm always like, I don't want to pick. I want to be thrown in, and I have to do the best with the ingredients I've been given, Iron Chef style, Crossword Show grid style. Just like, give me the assignment and let me do my thing on what you've chosen. I really prefer to work that way. I want to be given an assignment and then ace it.
I like working with constraints also. I think it's better for the creativity.
I think so too. They are freedom.
Back when we met at Mohonk, I worked pretty hard to convince you that you needed to explore great escape rooms. And I know that you have gone off on your own journey exploring them. So I'm curious, what has your escape room journey been like?
I had done escape rooms before I met you and Lisa, but I have an Instant Pot and I make chickpeas in it all the time. And they're like dried and soaked. And now I'm like, how was I eating canned chickpeas for so many years? They suck. Instant Pot chickpeas are incredible.
Yes, it's a minimal effort and it makes such a huge difference. Anyway, continue.
So the first post Spira escape room I did, I was like, this is Instant Pot beans and everything else has been bad canned beans. You sent me to Stash House in K-Town in Hollywood. Also, I didn't know that I had been living in the epicenter of kick-ass escape rooms for the last 15 years. But you have put me onto the fact that SoCal is like one of the great destination escape room hubs in the world. So the first one I went to was Stash House in K-Town, Tommy Honton's unbelievable lo-fi, as I understand it. He has told me, oh, it's kind of a dinosaur. I experienced a vicarious creative high. I felt afterwards like I had done a great show. And it's because I understood that I had experienced somebody else's great show that they made. And also that he made it so long ago and it was just like available for me to step into and have the sublime creative experience that I did down to the last moment of it, which there's something that is just staring you in the face the whole time that you don't grasp until you finish. And when it happened, I felt like I had been hit in the face with a pie that didn't hurt at all and just made me feel like, God, I was so thoroughly hoodwinked by this brilliant gag. And I just was so happy to have my face covered with whipped cream.
This is such an incredible reaction. I'm feeling like secondhand high just hearing you talk about it.
I had picked Stash House for you very specifically because from the limited amount of time I had spent around you and then also seeing your show, I knew that the game was at an intersection of puzzle design and puzzle play and also culture that you were going to be able to understand in a really thorough way.
Man, it's so good. And also like taking the trash cans out and you get scared feeling. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, when you go out at night, it's your neighborhood. You've been there 1,000 times. It's totally fine, but something's got you a little spooked.
Yeah, you just feel like some primate instinct fires and you're like, what else is out here? The best escape room experiences I've had, I get that feeling when it's really good. And I've learned to recognize that I'm feeling it and be like, oh, this is a sign that you're having fun. And so being at the top of an escape room roller coaster where you're like, I can tell that the flavor text I'm being given here is going to make sense later, but I don't know what it means now. And I have no idea how to crack into this. And it's all ahead of me. And I get a little overwhelmed. And Stash House was the first place where I experienced that feeling. And you're like, I feel unsafe in a safe way. I'm in danger.
I'm in danger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I love horror escape rooms. Have you done a scary escape room?
No. Oh, I've done one in the canned beans era.
Oh, we'll get you to one of those.
I want to play an escape room with Zach so bad now. It's like I want to live vicariously through your eyes, your innocent eyes.
Yeah, I've done 4 in the Common Era, CE. And they've all been awesome in different ways and such good experiences. And there's the joy of being like, oh, I'm an escape room guy. I didn't think I was, and I was surprised. You know, it's like when an album comes out and everyone likes it and it's in a genre you like, and you're like, I don't like it that much. It seems wrong, but I don't. That was how I felt about escape rooms, but I just wasn't playing the right ones.
Like, one of our missions in life is to tell people how cool this thing is that you didn't even know what you're missing out on. Because when most people think of escape rooms, they think of the canned beans. That's what they did. They had 1 can of beans and they're like, well, I don't like beans then, I guess.
Watching the Spyras present their well-rehearsed presentation, which I now can't wait to tell Dominic what you told me, that makes me feel good. I was watching you guys, and in real time, I was like, I will be attending an escape room in the next 4 weeks, I would predict.
Yes.
As it was happening, I was like, I am aware that I am currently being converted.
And that's really our goal. When we go and speak to all of these different adjacent groups, our goal is just to be like, hey, I understand that you have played an escape room and you randomly picked one and it wasn't great. I'm sorry about that. But also give this a second try, because there are all of these incredible experiences you can have, and they are all over the world, but you just have to know where to look.
And like so many things in life, everything opens up. Like clicking the corner square in a Minesweeper board. You've clicked all these other squares and nothing happens. Then you click that one and just a huge swath of empty space opens and you're like, aha.
This is solvable.
Now we can do something good here. So you guys were that corner square click for me.
So, Zach, what comes next for you?
Well, we're going on tour in December. We're doing a bunch of crossword shows on the East Coast. A bunch. 4. And then we're doing a similarly sized bunch on the West Coast. 1 in LA and 2 in the Bay Area. Those will be in December 2025. And then I'm having a baby in March.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
Yes. So that's going to be a new puzzle to engage with. And I'm super excited about that. And I will take some time off for that. And then I will keep writing and keep making crossword shows. And I feel so lucky to have found this project because I feel that it exists at the intersection, Venn diagram style, of like comedy and wordplay and trivia and music and hosting, which have been all of these things in my career that have been present to various extents. But this show is just like so much of all of those things. And I'm getting a little emotional about it because I really do feel like a very meaningful connection to it. I just feel like it's kind of a jackpot for me that I figured out that format with the help of friends like Will Nediger and Dominic and our other co-producer, Jessica Moses, and my friend Chris Duffy, and all these friends along the way. I count the 2 of you in there. And it's just like, I don't know. I found a project that really is fun and means a lot to me and combines all these things I'm interested in. So I have a lot of skin in the game of trying to make the crossword show, just keeping on working on it and having it be part of my life for as long as I can.
We are here to help support this passion and dream of yours however we can, because I believe in your show also. And in doing so, how can our listeners follow you and your work? Where can they go to find out information on all of this?
When people text me things, there's a great chance this is going to get lost. But I love email. I'm so good about my inbox. It's like where it goes. And so on the other side of that, the Crossword Show email list is just, that's it. All I want is for people to sign up for that. So everything Crossword Show related, we put all the best information out through our email list, and you can just get that at our website, which is, as we say at the show, www.crosswordshow.com. But in all seriousness, it's crosswordshow.com.
Oh. Do you have like Instagram accounts or anything?
I do have
like
an
that?
Instagram account. Those are all Zach Sherwin. Only H's, no K's in the mix. Zach Sherwin.
All right, I'll have links to all of that in the show notes.
Zach, thank you so much for joining us. A year ago, we met at a conference, and I immediately felt a kinship to you and the work that you were doing. And it has been thrilling along the way to send other people to your shows and get to know you and send you off to play games. And I am, like I said at the top of this episode, so incredibly honored and excited that you and Dom are going to be coming and bringing your work to the Recon stage. I look forward to all sorts of future fun and collaborations with you, but thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and experience with us here today.
That's so nice, David. And we don't know each other well enough for me to say I love you, but like I do in a way, and you too, PG, because I feel like we're part of the same tribe. And when you meet other people who are part of that, there is something that is on the spectrum of love where you're just like, these people are like my people. We're mishpacha, as the Jews say. We're fam. And so I really appreciate all those things you said. And I felt that same spark when we met each other. And I'm glad we got to watch each other do our thing in a public setting, because I think it helped us recognize each other in a really lovely way. You two have been so supportive, and I so appreciate the directing of people to the show that you've been doing. And I just look forward to our friendships continuing to evolve and deepen.
I feel the same way. To more things.
Yeah.
This episode of Reality Escape Pod is produced by Teresa Piazza with support by Lisa Spira. We're edited by Steve Ewing of Stand Inside Media, music by Ryan Elder, logo by Janine Proct, and all of this is brought to you by RoomEscapeArtist.com, your home for well-researched, rational, and reasonably humorous escape room and immersive gaming content and events. Thank you to our highest tier Patreon supporters, Derek Tam, Breakout Games, Escaparium, Pat Dupin of Olivier Escape, The Ministry of Peculiarities, Panic Room, Rex Miller, Mark of Keystone Escape Games, Byron Delmonico, Karen, Mystery Unfolds, and Andy Mincer. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. It means the world to us.
If you've made it all the way to the end of the episode, you're still here, looks like you had a pretty good time listening, we would love it if you took that good time and left us a review. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It helps with making people find our podcast, and it even helps us with getting guests on the show.
And if writing a review is a bridge too far, just share the link to an episode that you like with someone who you think will appreciate it. Word of mouth, that is the thing that helps us grow. Thank you so much for supporting us, however you're doing it, whether it is on Patreon, with a review, or just sharing a link. We appreciate you. Our convention, the Reality Escape Convention, is happening this August in Laval, Quebec, Canada. And you should come learn, play, and hang out with us. We will have the whole crew there. We'll have wonderful speakers, some fantastic games, and so much fun while we all learn together. Tickets are on sale now at realityescapecon.com, and you can use code REPOD50. That's REPOD 50 to save $50 on your ticket if you buy before the end of 2025. Get your tickets now. They will never be cheaper, and they will sell out.
The last escape room I did in the canned beans era was at a mall in LA, and I did it with my wife and 2 couples that we're friends with. And we showed up, and the escape room was like, so our rooms are designed for 8 people. You guys are 6 people. You can, if you want, buy out the remaining 2 spaces and it'll just be your group. But if not, there are 2 people signed up for your escape room, and it's a kid whose birthday it is and his mom. So if you want to just do it with the 6 of you, it'll be like another $100, and you can banish this child on his birthday to like solve an escape room with just his mom. So do you want to do that? And we were like, no, we'll solve it with the kid. Oh my God. We just were like, everything about this is non-optimal.
That is a wild form of blackmail. Continue.
Yeah, I know. It was like indicative of the substandardness of the enterprise. So we get into the escape room. It's not very good. Things are broken. There's like one thing that the God mic person running the room was like, oh yeah, that's supposed to work differently than it is right now. Just hit that thing and it'll open. And we were like, oh my God. So the escape room wasn't great. The kid was turning 12 and he was absolutely incredible. And his mom did not speak any English and was just like walking around the escape room. And this 12-year-old boy was just absolutely knocking down every challenge. And he kept going like, what if we try this? And all of the adults were like, okay, kid. And then he would be proved 100% right. All of his impulses and instincts were right on. We solved the escape room without a doubt, largely due to his efforts. And we got out, and he told us that it was the first escape room he'd ever done. He read about them online and thought that they seemed like something he'd be interested in. And he was a natural. And we took a group picture afterwards, and they had like signs you could hold up. And he held up one that said something like, "We only solved it because of me," which was true. And my friend Catherine held up one which represented the solving acumen of the rest of us besides this wonderkind. And hers said, "I like pie." And we were like, that pretty much sums it up. But it was wild to watch this natural escape room genius spread his wings for the first time. And I felt like I was there for the dawn of something historic.